If you've been wondering why students are wanting to get into a selective high school, this is the video to watch. As someone who attended Penrith High School and Girraween High School and is extremely knowledgeable about the New South Wales schooling system, there are three key reasons. The first being that these schools generally have a much more exceptional academic environment, and the peer influence can create a culture of higher academic achievement, as you can only attend a selective high school through academic merit in year 6, and even more so if you're trying to transfer in years 8 to 11. Students have to perform at a certain academic standard. This is a huge advantage for certain students who are competitive and want to get a higher ATAR, because you'll be surrounded by more like-minded peers who are motivated to excel. Although there are many pathways you can take after year 12, students who attend selective high schools, especially the fully selective ones, generally will want higher marks and get into university for higher education, as opposed to leaving school in years 11 or just getting straight into the workforce. This was definitely the case for myself when I attended Penrith and Girraween. I did not feel there was any realistic alternative other than going to university, since everyone else was planning to get the best ATAR possible, and we're thinking about which university we were actually aiming for. This is markedly different to my peers from primary school who went to non-selective high schools, who although still went to university, I knew people who also ended up in trades, actors school, the defense force, or just straight into the workforce. The latter not being anything that my career counselor at schools or peers really talked about at all. Having graduated in 2014, just over 10 years ago now, most of my core group of friends that went from Penrith and Girraween are now primarily doing white-collar work in offices, banks, dentists, or even doctors. It is amazing for me that if I ever needed my teeth cleaned, for instance, I could attend a dentistry practice that my friend now works, or the same if I need a new pair of glasses, I could go to my friend who's now an optometrist. The benefits are obviously varied, but I believe having a network where I can lean on is always so beneficial. And honestly, I'm not sure if I would have been in the same position if I did not attend a selective high school myself. The second reason why over 18,000 students tried to get into a selective high school in 2024 is because the academic performance of the schools, selective high schools, is their consistent rankings among the top performing schools across the state, particularly in the HSC. In 2024, 9 out of the 10 schools in the HSC rankings were selective, with James Lewis Agricultural High School, North Sydney Boys High School, and Baulkham Hills High School leading the charts. These schools regularly produce high numbers of Band 6 students, which are scores above 90 in a particular subject, which significantly increases a student's ATAR and chances of university admission. The top ranking public schools in comparison were Willoughby Girls, who was ranked 55, and also Carlingford ranked 72. These are by no means bad rankings at all, but it does indicate that selective and private schools usually dominate when it comes to having a higher ATAR and having more choices if university is the goal. As certain degrees require certain ATARs, if your ATAR is too low, you can not attend it and do that degree. For example, you need an ATAR of around 99.6 or higher to do a Doctor of Dental Medicine at USyd, which is honestly very high. That means even if I got an ATAR that is much lower than that, I would not be able to be a dentist here and potentially have to look at moving interstate, as the requirements for an ATAR might be lower if that was my dream. You might also be thinking, how would the school you attend even impact your own performance as long as you do well? That is a great question that I get all the time. Essentially, a student's final HSC mark in each subject is an average of their moderated school assessment mark and their external exam mark. Therefore, while individual effort in the HSC is important, the performance of the cohort can influence the moderated assessment mark. So being part of a high achieving cohort can positively impact a student's moderated assessment mark, as the school's internal marks are scaled to match the typically higher external exam marks. Conversely, in a lower performing cohort, even strong students might see their internal marks moderated downwards if the overall exam performance is weaker. This underscores the importance of both personal performance and academic environment in which a student studies. Let's use an example to demonstrate this, with English being a subject in Year 12 that many students, especially who attend selective high schools, have to do. Let's consider two students, Alice and Bob, from different high schools, both study English Advanced. Alice attends a school that is a high-performing cohort and has a higher ranking in the HSC. Her internal assessment rank in the subject is 5th, and her internal assessment mark is 88 out of 100. The external marks of the top 5 students in the actual HSC for English Advanced from her school were 95, 93, 92, 90, and 90. In this scenario, Alice's internal assessment mark would be moderated to align with the 5th highest external exam mark from her school, which is 90. This means her moderated internal assessment mark becomes 90. If Alice scores 88 in her external mark in her actual HSC, her final HSC mark would be both the average of her moderated assessment mark and her exam mark. This being 90 plus 88 and then divided by 2, being 89. Bob, on the other hand, is ranked first at his school, but goes to a lower performing school, which may make it easier to rank even higher. His internal assessment mark is 90 out of 100, and his external marks of the top 5 students in the actual HSC for English Advanced from his school were 85, 83, 82, 80, and 78. As Bob is ranked first in his school, his internal assessment mark would be moderated to match the highest external mark from his school, which is 85. So if Bob scores 80 in his own external exam, his final HSC mark would be 85 plus 80, and then it's divided by 2, so it'd be 82.5. This example illustrates how the performance of a student's cohort can influence their moderated assessment mark. Being part of a higher achieving cohort can positively impact a student's final HSC mark, with Alice getting a higher mark due to the performance of her cohort, while being a lower performing cohort may result in a moderated assessment mark that is lower than the original intended internal assessment mark, as seen with Bob. A key advantage of selective schools, in most people's opinion, in terms of ATAR calculations, is that the internal rankings play a bigger part or a bigger role in determining the final scores. Since the ATAR is scaled based on how a student's cohort performs in the HSC, attending a school where the majority of students achieve higher results can boost an individual's ATAR. This means that even if a student ranks in the middle of the cohort or middle of the grade in a certain subject at a selective high school, it may still be better and be more beneficial from an ATAR perspective compared to if they were ranked similarly at a non-selective school with a weaker performing cohort. The last reason that I personally relate to is that you can get a quality education without the price tag. Selective schools regularly produce high numbers of Band 6 results, which are scores above 90, as mentioned earlier, which significantly increases a student's ATAR and chances of university admission. While private schools also achieve strong results, they come with tuition fees that can exceed over $30,000 per year. By the time a student graduates Year 12, this can be hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is effectively enough to put towards a deposit for a property. An example of a popular and well-performing private school is the King's High School, which was ranked 35 in 2024 out of all high schools in New South Wales. For Year 7 students, they have to pay $43,675 for academic costs for that year, which obviously does not involve the additional cost of textbooks, uniforms, or even the bus services. Obviously, there are private schools that are more affordable around the $10,000 to $15,000 mark, but even that can add up for certain parents of certain backgrounds. In contrast, selective schools, being public institutions, offer competitive, high-quality education at little to no cost. Even when factoring in tutoring expenses for entrance exam preparation, selective schools remain a more affordable option for families seeking top-tier education without the financial constraints on top that are associated with private school fees. As someone who attended Marion Public School back when I was in primary, and lived in Blacktown, private schools were never an option for my family. If I did not get into Selective High School, I would have most likely gone to Blacktown Boys or Quakers Hill High School. And back in my day, no one really wanted to get into Blacktown Boys, and they really wanted me to join their gifted and talented class at that stage. Also, at that time, this was before they transitioned and became a partially selective high school. As receiving a high ATAR is important into getting into university and having more options to choose from, students can save more money on both high school tuition, but also could be eligible for certain scholarships like the NSW Selective Scholarship, worth $20,000 per year that can cover the cost of your university degree. Although these scholarships can be given to selective, private, or even public school students, I thought it would be good to mention. On the screen here, there should be a table that highlights a snapshot of the financial differences, which are obviously just a summary. Please keep in mind this is a general estimation. It can vary depending on your personal situation. Certain options can be a lot more expensive. Certain options can be a lot more affordable, just depending on the school and situation you're aiming for. I believe that based on these reasons, most students want to get into a selective high school because of this. The academic benefit from Year 12 to get a better ATAR, it is a lot more cost effective, and the network you might have in the future is extremely beneficial. Although there are extracurricular options like sport, competitions, and school events, most schools will offer a variation of this, and selective school could also vary as well. For example, Penrith, in my experience, probably had twice the number of extracurricular activities and sports available compared to when I transferred and moved into Girraween High School. Some parents may also opt for selective high school options if it's much more closer to where they live compared to private or other public school options. Regardless, please let me know down below if you agree or think of other reasons of why people want to get into a selective high school, or if you disagree with any of my points. Thank you. See you guys next time. Bye.